So my name is Lucy, and I'm an artist, art writer, and an educator, and I live most of my life in Singapore. And I nearly 10 years ago founded this thing called the Migrant Ecologies project, which is our sort of way into working with this project. And I'm not alone. We have collaborators. We always work collaboratively. And so for this project, there's myself and Zach, who you're going to be talking to later, but also a researcher on Malay world animist beliefs called Faisal Husni, and a photographer called Kiyating.
My name is Zachary Chan. I'm 29, and when I guess my first education and first kind of job was in sound. So I have a diploma in sonic arts, and so I did composition, sound design, sound engineering for a while, and after that I went to the army and I decided to pursue graphic design afterwards. That's when in university, I guess, partially through Lucy's classes actually, then it really opened my mind and my eyes to like a lot of things that I wasn't seeing before in Singapore. That's when I began to be more engaged with other kinds of cultures rather than just pop culture, I guess, and television, stuff like that, yeah. And besides doing graphic design, I'm also a gamelan musician. Play for Central Javanese gamelan as well as Balinese gamelan, and I compose for both ensembles quite a lot. Yeah. My role in this project is primarily a graphic designer. So I helped create a large book that currently is sort of like a compilation of what we already know and what we are trying to find out. So when you open the book, you're supposed to be entering into that world, that secret world that we're trying to find out and make connections to with like many things. So when you open it, it's supposed to look like the interior of a crocodile. So we used photographs that we had of the skeleton of the crocodile and pieced together like a large accordion book. If you open it fully, it is the length of the crocodile, and you can see sort of like you're entering this vast tunnel, and at the heart of it is the wheat seed.
The work that we're offering to the mountain in Svalbard, it has a number of parallels, if you like, to the global seed bank. One of the parallels is indeed that the work comes from what we might consider to be an alternative seed bank. And that seed bank consists of a 133-year dead saltwater crocodile from Southeast Asia. That is the largest taxidermy specimen in the Raffles Museum, the former Raffles Museum in Singapore. And when this crocodile was opened for conservation, they found, very unusually, it was the only specimen in the collection that was stuffed this way, but that it was stuffed with wheat, which of course does not come from Southeast Asia. And so to start with, we were kind of caught by this as a metaphor, you know, that you've got this monster of the tropics that has been driven out by colonial capital, because of course at the time that the crocodile was shot, there was the destruction of the mangroves in around the crocodile's habitat of Singapore and Southeast Asia, where we're from, and the crocodile would have come out because it would have had nowhere else to go and then would have been shot. So you've got this monster of the tropics, which in a way is created by colonial capital. These creatures did not attack humans before the colonials started destroying their habitat. And then, you know, that it's stuffed with this material wheat, which is, you know, the material of domestication, the material of pastoralization. So we saw it as this sort of metaphor for the colonial desire to pastoralize, to tame the tropics. But then in the process of working with this crocodile, and the wheat, we've become more interested both in the crocodile itself as an entity, as a being, and also the wheat and where this wheat might have come from. And then just sort of anecdotally, already from looking through the shipping records in Singapore in the 1880s and what ships were bringing in. The wheat that has been brought in to Singapore that we can see on the shipping records seems to come almost exclusively from India. And in that is another story of, big agriculture and colonialization, in that this was the time that the British India Company was forcing the Indian populations to go away from what we might call subsistence agriculture, but sustainable agriculture maybe, towards plantation cash crops for export. And there were a series, and these cash crops were not just wheat. You have opium, you have tea, you have jute, all these crops which are being used for the British India Company's market at the same time as you had mass starvation in India and millions of people died. So you've got a seed which isn't necessarily a benevolent, a representative of a benevolent history. Its history is not all peace and love in the seed world. So from the wheat that was found inside the crock, it's a hell of a lot of wheat, right? It was 8 dustbin bags full of wheat. We sorted through this wheat, and so far we have only been able to find one single grain, and that grain is going to now go into Plateau Bjerre, into the mountain. We hope very much that we might find another one, but so far that's it. So to come back to this, these kind of stories that go off in all different directions, another point would be that you've got this seed which has this complexity, has a genetic complexity, a length of DNA which is longer than human DNA, right? But which also has the potential to draw out all these multivalent stories.